Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for my linguistics webinar tonight. We will be talking about 5 components of linguistics. Bear with me one moment while I share my screen. All right. Here we go. So the 5 components that we're going to discuss tonight are phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Starting with phonology. Phonology is the way in which sounds function and perform in a language. Phonology is important in literacy because it creates a great foundation for children in order for them to be able to decode, blend, and eventually read. The next component we're going to talk about is morphology. Morphology is the study of how morphemes or parts of words can be combined to form new words. So for example, the morphemes place and ment can be combined to form the word placement. This is important in literacy because knowing morphemes as well as the prefixes or suffixes to add to them gives children a great understanding of different and new words which might contain similar morphemes, prefixes, and or suffixes. Next is syntax. Syntax is the way in which words are used and formed to make sentences. And syntax is really important in literacy as it allows for our sentences to make sense and be understood by others. Some common errors with syntax include, but are not limited to, poor arrangement of words and even misuse or misplacement of commas. The next component is semantics. Semantics is the study of the meaning of words and sentences, and this is obviously important in literacy, as our words and sentences we use need to make sense in order for our thoughts and opinions to come across and in order for them to be understood by others. The last component is pragmatics. Pragmatics is concerned with how sentences and phrases are implied and what they can really mean. With pragmatics, context is going to be key. One example that we hear almost every day is when someone asks, "Hey, how are you?" They're not actually asking you, like, tell me about your physical ailments, tell me about your mental health. They're not asking about these things. The common response is just going to be, "Oh, I'm fine, how are you?" And it's just an acknowledgement day to day. Pragmatics is important then in literacy because it requires thoughtful attention to the speaker to be able to respond appropriately. So the next part I'm going to talk about is how the components are important to understand when it comes to students with exceptionalities. So it's important to understand all 5 of these components of linguistics when supporting students with exceptionalities, because there are a few of these which children might struggle with. So for example, children with autism typically struggle with pragmatics because when it comes to humor and even sarcasm, they tend to take it literally instead of in a humorous way. Also, it's important to understand these components of linguistics because they can help you as a teacher know exactly what to target when it comes to particular children or just planning for your class in general. So for example, if you have a child struggling with sentence structure, that's when you would work on syntax with them. You would be like, all right, let me research strategies and activities that I can do to promote syntax and the understanding of syntax. So I also have 2 developmentally appropriate research-based instructional strategies that you can use in the classroom to support language and literacy development in students who might be struggling with some of the linguistic components. So the first strategy that can be used for children who struggle to read is record them or have them record themselves when they're reading. Often it's hard for struggling readers to read in front of their peers and sometimes even in front of their teachers, regardless of what type of relationship you have with your students. For this reason, if you have them record themselves when they read, you can get a better idea as a teacher as to what they're struggling with specifically because you can listen to that recording over again. Another thing quite similar to that is that they can listen to themselves read the story, but also have them keep rereading the story, because that will help with fluency, and that will also help with building their vocabulary. So the words that they might have struggled with, they can pick up on quite quickly again and again. The last activity that I have, or the strategy, is for children who may struggle with reading a text, such as those maybe with dyslexia or ADHD. And so for this reason, I've added magnetic letters to add some type of manipulative into the reading activities. So use the letters as they can come across words that a child might struggle to pronounce. So for example, if they're struggling to read the word sight, you can take the letters, the magnetic letters, all of them out, lay them out, and have the child separate them into phonemes, digraphs, trigraphs, anything that they can recognize so they can try sounding it out. So for sight, they would have the S for S, they would have IGH for I, and they would have T for T. So they would go sight, sight. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining me for my webinar tonight. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can leave a comment down below as well. If you have anything else that you would like to add, just let me know. Thank you so much.